Fire me up, baby! Ah! Let's go!
This guy's silky.
Hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody, to the Friday edition of our program. It is Chicago Hockey Radio to end your week. Tassos Kirkos alongside Justin Lynch and Raven Gasser behind the wall, producing, hitting the ones and twos, hitting the buttons today along for the ride. Thank you to everybody watching and listening wherever you are watching and listening from, whether that is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or however you download your podcasts. We thank you very much for stopping by. Like I said, Tassos Kirkos on the show today. It's been a little bit of it. But yeah, dude, I'm actually kind of pumped to do this today.
Yeah, it's good to see you here. When was the last time you've been here in this seat? It's been a long time.
In this seat, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
I did last week, when the day you were driving, I did that Monday show. It was just me and Lee. And I didn't have Raven here, and so, but I am here. No Lee today on the show. We have a good one for you guys here today. Barstool Chief will be joining the program in about 7 minutes' time. We will talk Chicago Blackhawks, I imagine. We'll talk a little bit about the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. I imagine we'll talk draft and free agency and all the likes are expectations of the Chicago Blackhawks heading into the 2025-26 season. But I guess the news of the day, the word of the day, the thing everybody is talking about, Lane Lambert hired as head coach of the Seattle Kraken. No, I'm just kidding.
You really edged me with that one.
No, I know. You look like, you look like I had to. No, the Edmonton Oilers punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup final. We have a rematch. It is the Oilers against the Panthers. I don't think we have an official start date yet for the Stanley Cup final. I know original word was it was supposed to be next Wednesday, but the word is that they will be moving it back. So
for Ford, right? Yeah.
Or moving it. Yeah. Moving it closer. Moving it sooner. So I anticipate maybe a Monday start date, maybe a Tuesday start date.
Yeah, because I'm checking the NHL app right now, and it says Wednesday, June 4th. That better not be accurate, because I don't think we can wait 5 days until more playoff hockey or the Stanley Cup Final. So I think Monday start time would be pretty reasonable there. So hopefully that's what they do. Yeah.
You streamed the game last night. Nicely done. You and Raven.
Right. Yeah.
From your perspective, the Edmonton Oilers are off to the final. The Dallas Stars eliminated. You want to spend maybe a few minutes on your thoughts from last night's game?
Sure.
Maybe, and then we'll get into Chief and all that. We'll talk more about this later, obviously.
Yeah,
in the
of course.
Second half of the show.
I mean, general thoughts, not really surprised. I think after the Cats defeated the Canes in 5, I wasn't really shocked to see the Oilers do the same. Like, what you can do, we can do better. So thought it was a pretty decisive win against the Stars, which I really thought the series would be closer. Like, that has been a surprise. I thought that was the dictionary definition of a 7-game series, and it ends in 5. It's like each opponent for Edmonton's gotten better, right? You start the Kings, then you lead to the Knights, then you lead to the Stars. It almost feels like it's gotten easier for them all along. So just that team is rolling right now. 12 wins in the last 14. But the last test of all will definitely be the greatest test against the Florida Panthers team that defeated them in 7 last year. But I do think they are very capable of winning that series. Should be great. But no, overall, I think Oilers did what they needed to do. I noticed they did touch the trophy this time. Last year they didn't. So we'll see if that reverses the trend there. Obviously the Panthers, I believe they did the opposite. So we'll see which tradition upholds there for the final, right? Do you think much of that, touching the trophy versus not? Do you think they make up too big a deal of that stuff? Or?
You see, like, I am a curse guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a jinx guy. I'm a superstition guy. When it comes to touching the trophy, I give the advantage to the Panthers because
they've done it before.
They didn't touch it last year, and
it worked.
Yeah. So now we're banking on. But if we're going by the definition of like the superstition and what the powers of it be, then the Oilers have to win the cup this year, right? Like because they didn't before, they lost, now they did. So I don't know.
That kind of feels like the script to me, right? We brought this up before, but it's like, Wayne Gretzky lost his first final to the Islanders in 83, then he gets the revenge on the same team in 84. Crosby lost to the Wings in 08, then gets his revenge the next year in 09. McDavid loses to the Panthers last year. He gets his revenge this year. That feels like the script to me, but we shall see. That Panthers team, man, one can argue this team is even better, and the Oilers team maybe not quite as much, but I don't know. I think this playoff Oilers, I think they've been as good as I've ever seen them, so it should be a very cinematic final. I think it's exactly what the NHL needs. I think the conference finals, to be honest, were a little bit disappointing. The fact that both series ended 5, which, by the way, that's the first time that's occurred since 2013. I think you'll recall the Blackhawks defeating the Kings in 5 games that year. And then, obviously they faced the Bruins in the finals. So first time in 12 years we had a conference finals wrap this soon. So hopefully the Stanley Cup final makes up for it. I think it will. I think these are 2 very evenly matched squads. People always talk about overdogs and underdogs, but I mean, it really feels like this is anybody's game. They really feel evenly matched to me. Yeah.
A quick note about your point of how quickly these conference finals ended. For the first time since 2013, both conference final series ended in 5 games or fewer.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and I think I wasn't really shocked that the Panthers series ended quickly. I was surprised that this series ended quickly. Definitely ended sooner than it occurred. So, it just tells you these 2 teams are both destined for the finals, man. It definitely feels like it for both squads. I don't think we're really shocked there, to be honest, that this is the final. Yeah.
I think a lot of people last night will walk away. No shocker. The play of Connor McDavid, I think he was, the best player on the ice. I know he's the best player on the ice most nights. He steps on ice. But he was
that goal was phenomenal in the breakaway. The forehand, backhand, the Patty Kane special there in the breakaway. That was a beauty. And I just have a feeling, man. Not only is he I think he's probably going to go back to back with a Conn Smythe, and this time he's going to want to bring the cup with him. So he takes things personally, man. I think after that game 1, they lost to the Stars. You saw him and Jari look at each other on the bench. They gave each other a little nod there, a little smirk. You could tell they were playing a little pissed off all series. So when those 2 get going, they can just will that team to victory. So and that's exactly what happened. But the nice thing is they haven't had to rely on those 2 this year. They're really getting contributions throughout the lineup. Like they're without Jack Hyman now, and look at Corey Perry steps in that role and he gets a goal, and he's been good for them. So will that continue? Corey Perry, 5th final in his last 6 years.
That is the other one. 5th final in his last 6 years. 6th final of his career. He is 0-4 in his last 4 Stanley Cup finals.
That's right. Will he be able to break that curse there and win his 2nd cup, first since 2007 with the Ducks? You have to watch to find out. Yeah.
Okay. While we wait for Chief, Corey Perry's a Hall of Famer, correct?
Oh, he is. I think so. First ballot Hall, very good. And maybe it might have to wait a little bit, but I do think he'll eventually get in the Hall. Yeah.
6 Stanley Cup finals?
Yeah, well, he's 1-4 so far. So
but to get to 6 though.
Yeah, he's won a Hart, he's won a Rocket, he's just under 1,000 points. So I think he is. I mean, that's not a guarantee, though, to be honest. I feel like I wouldn't say he's like a lock for the Hall of Fame, but if he wins this cup, that's all he needs to kind of get over that hump there. I'd say he's knocking on the door. He's knocking on the door. Yeah.
I would say that the later portion of Corey Perry's career has ensured it.
Really?
To be honest with you, I think if we were talking about this maybe 8-10 years ago, he'd be more borderline. I know the dominant portion was all at the beginning, but I think how he's reinvented himself, the role he's carved out, he still is.
He's still effective in the bottom 6. Now, he's really been playing bottom 6
in the top
lately.
6.
Yeah, honestly, he has 7 goals in these playoffs or something like that.
Hyman came out and they bring in, they bring Perry up to the top. So, top line. I'm sorry, but
and he's filled in nicely there. Yeah. Yeah, because you see that sometimes where star players later in their careers kind of fall off and they're not really able to reinvent their game. So the fact that he's kind of stepped into that role and kind of immersed himself in that bottom 6 there and been a good role player, kind of leadership guy, been there, done that. It does speak volumes to him. So, yeah, we all know Corey Perry will go down as a Blackhawks legend, right?
And so let's switch it up. Let's bring Chief into the conversation here. Barstool Chief, thank you so much, actually, for taking the time. Really appreciate it. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, anytime. Thank you for taking the time. Let's join you in right where we're picking up right now. So Stanley Cup final, we're talking about Corey Perry, but just your your thoughts last night, the playoffs so far, going in a rematch here. What do you think? How are you feeling about the playoffs so far? Have you enjoyed it? What are you looking at? What are you looking for? How are you enjoying it? What do you think?
Yeah, I always love the playoffs. It's something to do basically every night of the week for 2 months. So I'm a little bit sad we're at the end here. I am. I love spite. I'm a big spite guy. I still hold Stan Bowman accountable for what he did to the end of the Blackhawks, and he inherited another team right on the brink with great players like McDavid and Draisaitl, just like he did here. So I am actively rooting for the Florida Panthers. So
Okay.
Bowman doesn't get himself another Stanley Cup that he doesn't deserve, in my opinion. But if McDavid does get one, I think that would. I mean, and Leon, those guys are champions who haven't won it yet. They do everything right. They're spectacular players. So I wouldn't be like devastated if they won, but I am rooting for the Panthers.
I was gonna say this Stanley Cup final feels like a pick your poison. Stan Bowman versus Seth Jones. It'd be cool if Seth lifting the cup for the first time.
I never hated
Yeah.
Seth Jones. I liked the trade when they did
Yeah.
it. I know people hated it, but that was like, hey, to me, I wanted one more playoff run with 1988, and by playoff run I mean just get in and have meaningful hockey. And Jones was arguably the best defenseman available in the market. It was him and Dougie Hamilton. I've always liked Seth Jones. I'm not surprised by how he's playing and the success he's having down in Florida. It was just a rotten situation here that didn't work out. Jeremy Colleton and Stan Bowman. Are we rebuilding? Are we tearing? What are we doing? And it was just a disaster. And they had all the controversies. So I always thought he got way, way too much hate in Chicago. And so I would be happy for him if you want it. He's a good player. He's a good player. And like that was the other thing. Like that contract never actually hurt the Blackhawks. It was a big number, but for the majority of his time here, they weren't like a cap team anyways, competing and never. So I never understood the hate. He's not a Norris guy. He's definitely a top four guy, probably a top pair guy. Clearly, we're seeing that play out with the Panthers. So yeah, I'd be happy for Seth Jones. I got nothing but love for Seth Jones.
So let's transition to the Blackhawks. Obviously, we're a Hawk show. The rumors yesterday, the talk is that Jonathan Toews went to his agent, said, I am 100% committed to making a go at an NHL comeback next year. Just, what does that make you feel? Like, does it feel weird seeing that? Like, I know with Kaner, we've seen it now, the Wings and the Rangers, but is it going to be a little weird seeing Jonathan Toews in another jersey?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had Duncan Keith went to Edmonton too, and there's a lot of those guys from those teams. Sharpie was probably the first one when he went to Dallas, where it was like that was like, man, like that like hurt my heart. So I love Jonathan Toews. I think everybody in Chicago should. Obviously, that his last contract didn't go the way any of us would have wanted, and he had some struggles, kind of on the ice, off the ice, but taking 2 full years off, right? And then all the health issues and trying to make a comeback. I am rooting for him to be successful. I would be surprised if it worked out, but maybe a team, Winnipeg, Colorado, somebody like that, if they want to give him a look as almost like that, like the way Joe Thornton kind of ended his career, where he was, playing third, fourth line minutes and some power play. And I hope he's healthy enough and fit enough to contribute. So I'd love to see him be able to end his career on his own terms. So yeah, I enjoyed seeing that news yesterday.
What do you think of the idea that maybe he could join his buddy Patrick Kane over there in Detroit if he decides to resign? You think there's possibility there? You think there's probably other teams you probably go to first before Detroit? Yeah.
I mean, Detroit's in such a weird spot
Yeah.
where I don't know if Jonathan Toews pushes them closer to their goal. And I don't know if that's the type of team he would even want to join. So, God, I mean, I love Kaner. I don't have the hate for the Red Wings that I feel like we're supposed to in Chicago, just because when I was a kid, they were so awesome and the Hawks were so bad. And then we had one great playoff series against them, and then they ran away to the Eastern Conference. So it's like that whole Detroit sucks. Like when we were rolling, they weren't really as great. And then now you play twice a year. So it would be weird to see both of them in Detroit. I almost hope that doesn't happen. But I do find myself watching a lot of Wings games just because I love Kaner so much. So yeah, that would be something. So I kind of hope he ends up somewhere else. But but we'll see. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
What do you think about Jeff Blashill coming in this week? You know, they introduced him on Tuesday or Monday, whatever that was. You know, a lot of the discussion I feel like we've been having is the guys they didn't interview. Just a lot of names that it felt like they were on the table. It seemed like maybe they were like David
who?
Carl or bus.
They definitely were. They definitely were David Carl or bus for the beginning of that process. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking guys like Mitch Love, Todd Nelson, you know, Pascal Vincent in the American Hockey League right now. There's some other college guys, some junior guys. There's like Jay Pandolfo, I feel like. Junior hockey guy Gardner McDougall I was telling you about. You know, I don't know. These guys are the ones that are more like, hey, they should have hired more guys. I know people that know Blash and have worked with Blash. I think, you know, they all have good things to say about him. You know, I think bringing in Mike Vellucci is a really good hire too for the Hawks. Pekka as well. But just, you know, what is your sort of gut feeling right away off the hop with the Blash hiring?
You know, I think they did their due diligence. You know, and I obviously talked to some people over there, and I think Blashill. I don't understand what there is to hate about him. If you're a fan, you know, obviously his run in Detroit was not great to say the least. But when he did have one kind of competent roster, he did make the playoffs. And then they went. It would be like him taking over Chicago that last year at Taves and Kane, where the rebuild hadn't really started. So then they never had the lottery luck. You know, they never had the impact guys. So, and to me, it's almost like a credit to him that he was able to stay there while losing for 7 years in a row. You have to be a pretty good coach to survive having that bad of a record and have your name still be pretty good, because he never even got fired. His contract just expired. So I think, you know, I watched this, God, it must have been from like 7-8 years ago, but it was like him and a guy from USA Hockey.
Oh, I've seen that.
Talk. You watched that?
Yeah, that video. Yeah, it seems like a good fundamentals guy, habits. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an hour long, and it's all about the little details of the game, that you know, the habits. And I really think that when you watch the Blackhawks the last couple of years, really even going back to Colleton,
lacking. Yeah.
Really, really bad board play. Just, you know, they don't support the puck the right way in transition, on the wall, any of that. So, and they're not a hard team to play against. I want a coach that's going to make this team hard to play against. So, like I said, last year, I didn't care if they lost every single game as long as they were playing the right way. And that happened far too seldom. So I'm hoping Blashill can come in, establish, you know, a culture of accountability, which I also think was lacking from this group, where it's like, you know, certain guys, 98 included, where it's just like, this is not winning hockey. You're turning the puck over in bad areas. You're trying to make plays that just aren't there. Like, we had Alec Martinez on our show, comes out today, and just like talking about his time with the Kings, where it's like, you know, winning hockey is a grind. It's not all just fun all the time. And sometimes it's just like, you know, I'm just going to put the puck in a good area and have our guys, my teammates, go get it, and I'm going to change, but we're going to be better off for it. And I feel like those little details, you know, and it's like the stuff you learn in Pee-wees. It's like, hey, you're stopping in front of the net. You are, you know, you are using your body to create a little bump and a little separation to help the breakout. You are, you know, you are supporting that. You make the pass and then you support the pass, and all that kind of movement. That stuff has been missing, and I hope Blashill is, you know, there's no handcuffs on him, and he's allowed to coach the team that he wants, you know, to establish the identity of what we're going to be, and I think he's the right guy to do it.
What are your overall expectations of the Hawks next year? And that might be a hard answer now in May, because we don't know exactly what the roster is going to look like. But assuming it kind of looks like the last quarter of the season, like that youth movement we saw at the end of the year, like what are you kind of thinking next year for the Hawks?
What do you mean in terms of where they finish in the?
Yeah, I guess standings wise, where overall philosophy should it be all about development? Do you want to see a jump in the standings? Are you okay with being, in the running for a guy McKenna, or where do you want to see this team? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's similar to last year, right? Where
Yeah.
last year Davidson before the year said, "Hey, like we want to take a step up. Like we don't
Mhm.
want to be picking in the top 5 again."
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
But it's like I want to see the details, and I want to see commitment to the structure and a high intensity style of hockey. And if you lose games 3-2 or 4-2 or whatever, I don't care. Just play the right way. And there's going to be hiccups and there's going to be learning curves. And they're going to be a very, very young team next year. But I want it to be. I was about to say I want it to be fun. I don't even care if it's fun. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't need I believe in the talent. Like Bedard is immensely talented. I need to see him do the other things. Nazar looks like a real top 6 guy.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like I love his compete. But like there's little details he has to iron out too. The defensemen are gonna have. We might have a hard year on the back
Growing
end,
pains.
which we're used to. But I believe in their talent. Like the way Lev and Rinzel skate, it's just like whew. But can they get those little aspects of the game that translate down to winning? So that's what I want to see. So if they're picking in the top 5 again, that won't bother me as long as they're playing, good, sound, fundamental hockey.
Okay.
There's a particular free agent hitting the market July 1. Where's number 16? Where's jersey currently that is blue and white? Would
Pass.
you take really hard pass?
Yeah.
Oh, Lee would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, he's a tremendous player. I do think to get a big time player into Chicago, you're going to have to pay a premium. So you're looking at 13, who knows, maybe $14 million to get him to play for Chicago. And he does a lot of great things. I mean, I don't think Bedard's a center long term. So then you're bringing in Marner to play with who?
Yeah.
Are those your 2 wings on your top line? So again, like I just don't think it's a fit. I don't think it's the type of player that they need. I'm hoping that Bedard and Nazar and maybe whoever they get at the top of this draft can be like their top 6 wingers going forward. And I just don't think that he's a guy who takes them where they need to be. I'd rather have Sam Bennett if we're throwing money around. What's it going to take to get Bennett? 8, 9? I think I'd rather have Bennett at 8 or 9 than Marner at 14. So like they need that type of a player, a hard player. They have a lot of skill and they got more coming. I mean, prospects break your heart, but Kanserov is putting up huge numbers in the KHL.
Big fan of his, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Nick Lardis, yeah.
Nick Lardis, like those guys might not end up being anything.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of guys that fit that profile player, and they got 2 first-round picks this year. They got 2 first-round picks next year, and the cap is seemingly never going to be an issue for this team. They're obviously they could probably sign Bedard to an extension this summer. I would not if I were him. If I were his agent, I'd be like, don't.
Yeah, wait for the breakout year. Yeah.
Don't sign. Yeah. Don't sign. And then Nazar will be up at the same time as well. So but it's like, are they going? How much more? Like Bedard will get more than what Vlasic got, but a lot of those guys are going to have probably it's going to be hard to justify giving them substantially more than what they gave to Vlasic when he was up. So you're looking at Nazar for what, 8x6, something like that.
I'd
sign that a heartbeat.
That'd be I would do that deal. So I don't think the money's ever going to be an issue. I think that when they were doing this rebuild, they were looking at this summer and being like, holy Jesus, it's going to be, Rantanen, Draisaitl. I think there was a time where Matthews was due to be up at the same time, Marner. And it's just no, those guys very rarely hit the market. And the one that is hitting the market, I think there's a reason for it. So Marner will go somewhere. He'll put up 90 points a year and be pretty good defensively and then melt away in the playoffs. And that'll be that.
To be fair, there are quite a bit of big fish that will be available. Well, I guess their contracts will be up next year. We don't know if they're going to be available, though. I imagine Minnesota's going to lock up Kaprizov, and there are guys like Eichel available. We know McJesus is going to stay at Edmonton. But there's going to be something next summer, right? Yeah.
No shot those 3 guys are UFAs. No shot.
You don't think any of them?
No, I don't.
Really?
So I've seen Hawks
Yeah,
Twitter
because
yapping about that a lot. Yeah.
yeah, and that's been the dream and the hope. Like
Yeah.
Kirill, like they could just take the money that had dead money on the books for Parise and Suter and just give that right to
Yeah.
Kirill, and then you're good. And they have, a lot of their other key guys are signed, and then Zuccarello's coming off their books relatively soon. Like Billy Guerin, to me, he's one of the best GMs in the sport,
Hmm.
and he's going to figure it out. Like Kirill, unless Kirill forces his way out, but then is he going to force his way out to come here? Probably not, I would say. I
Yeah.
would say probably not. So, um, yeah, so I just think those that's pie in the sky stuff. Like, it's nice to have the money. It's nice to have the flexibility and the assets. I would, there's another guy who's a free agent as an RFA is Matthew Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, like
Offer sheet?
that's what.
You're interested
Yeah,
in the offer
I
sheet?
would look
Yeah.
at an offer sheet. I
Yeah.
would look at being like, hey, like, you know, his offer sheet compensation is going to be a bunch of picks,
Yeah.
a bunch of futures, where it's like, we'll give you Korchinski and 3, or so, like some kind of, so it's like, hey, like you get to press the reset on this right now instead of having to wait a full year. You get a defenseman who's probably ready to step into your team. And then I would also like I would talk to Buffalo. Like Bo and
Paterka?
Byram.
Yeah.
I love Bo Byram.
Mm.
Could he be your second line left shot D and then you move Korchinski for something else? I'm not a big Korchinski guy, but I think his value is probably as high as it's ever going to be.
Hmm.
So then your top 4 is, you know, Vlasic, Rinzel, Byram, Lev. Pretty
Not too
fucking
shabby.
good
Yeah.
skaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then you got Del Mastro and Kaiser and guys like that who I like in your third pair. So they have some assets, and I do want to put my foot on the gas a little bit because eventually it's just like no matter how talented you are, you just become losers. And
Yeah.
I don't want to have like this losing mentality. And I think Blashill will be a good guy to, you know, reverse course, but they're losers. Like they play losing hockey and they have for a long time. And I do think that can culturally just seep in where it's like,
Yeah.
Look at Buffalo.
The
whatever.
Oilers,
Before
Yeah.
David. Yeah.
Yeah. And and that just becomes your identity of your team. And it's like all of a sudden, like, well, we're rebuilding again, and we never got out of our rebuild to begin with. So I do want to like put a stop to that, and I think they need more hard-nosed guys, and that's why I didn't mind bringing in Alec Martinez and Pat Maroon, and it's just like, but when you have like the disjointed coaching and the young guys some of the young guys don't listen, then it's like, well, we're just stuck. So it needs to start from the top on down, and hopefully this is the time to do it.
The draft is about a month away here. Hopefully, the last draft or one of the last drafts we'll have to really care about here to build up this prospect pool. But is there a name at 3 that you're really looking at the most there? I know I think you've talked about in one of your blogs that you'd be open to trade a pick and a potential deal with the Islanders. What are your thoughts there? Is there a player that moves you the most in number 3? Yeah.
I'm hoping there's some kind of way that Misa falls to 3.
Yeah.
It feels very unlikely. But that would be my dream that Misa's sitting there at 3. There's your 1C. You kick Bedard over to a wing, and away you go. If they stick at 3, it's like you're probably looking at Frondel or Denoye, and I, I I'm not convinced Frondel is a center either. And I'm not that he can't do it, but maybe that's not the position where that's his best position in the NHL because he can really rip the puck. You kind of want him to be finding dead space and, winning on the wall and stuff like that. So Denoye is like, it's coming from the queue. Like, it's just not a great draft. It's just like you look back at past drafts and you're like, Matthew Tkachuk went 6th in that draft.
Yeah,
Like there's
happened.
just,
Yeah.
like it's just not one of those years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't hate the idea of trading back. Like that Jake O'Brien intrigues me. Roger McQueen intrigues me. Those guys are going to be there like the 6 to 10 range. So maybe you do a deal with Buffalo where it's like we'll swap 3 for 9. We'll move back. And then we'll give you some kind of sweetener to get one of Paterka or Byram in here. they'll get their negotiating rights and do a deal that way. I don't know. I do think there's going to be some movement. I don't think, and I talked to scouts from pretty consistently from 5 different teams, and they all basically say the same thing. Where there's a top 2, then there's 3 to 10, and then there's like anywhere from like 15 to 45, you're kind of throwing a dart. Like, they're all kind of, there's a big pool of players that you could all make an argument for, but nobody's really in love with this draft class.
It definitely feels a lot like 2019, where the 1-2 is kind of set, and then 3 on back, there's a bit of a question mark. And last time we picked Kirby Dach with that pick, so hopefully we get it right this time if we do decide to stay at 3.
Yeah, and that was like another Stan Bowman special, where it's just like, I'm just going to take the kid who is the most physically NHL ready.
Yeah.
And I like Kirby Dach, but that was always the wrong pick.
Yeah.
That was always the wrong pick. And it was just like, he's like, I have to have a center. Like, I don't have any money. I need a guy in a rookie deal. They never even made him earn it in camp. He got hurt, and they're just like, you're in the NHL. And then the next year they're like, well, you're actually not ready now. So, like, go back, go play junior, gets it. The whole thing. Oh, I'm still so mad at Stan Bowman.
Fumbled
but
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, Kirby's a fine NHL player now when he's healthy, but he's just like picking him 3rd. Like, and you look down at like Matthew Boldy went a little bit late. It's just like they would have been better off picking 10th.
Yeah, I think I actually wanted your boy Byram that year at 3.
Yeah, that was going to be, and Byram, I still really believe in him, but he's had concussions and injuries. And so I don't think we've seen. I think he's just scratching the surface. So I think last year was his first year with 82 games. So I don't know what he would cost, but I still think, like, man, you get a top 5 pick talent, and no one really knows what he is yet. You might be able to get him in on a pretty cheap deal, and then you get his next, his prime 23 to 30 while you're trying to win. I think I'd be very intrigued by that.
I have just sort of like a life question here for you. We can open this up a little bit.
Sure.
By the way, you don't have to feel like you have to censor yourself a little bit. We do own the show, so you can swear on here.
I have been censoring myself. Yeah, I have been.
Yeah.
I always try to be respectful of everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What is, you're our first guest actually from Barstool, but we've had guys from like ESPN and Sportsnet, which is like, it's more serious. Hockey definitely has a bit of a more serious tone when you cover it. A lot of big J journalists, a lot of people who are very snooty about it. They don't really like, us podcasters or different things. Different people like us getting in the mix. Why are you so pissy? Exactly. But what is life like for you working at Barstool? Obviously, like, Chicklets is there, but you're not on Chicklets, but they're such a force in the sport.
They are.
But other than that, you guys are like, it's football, it's basketball, it's college sports, and then you have holding down, hey, like, I'm the hockey guy here, in the Chicago office. Obviously you do your show with Pat Boyle too on ESPN 1000. Just what is life like for you being a hockey guy in the Barstool sports world?
Yeah, I would say, like, anytime I get to do stuff with the Chicklets guys, it's great. I love those guys. I really love the Game Notes crew as well. They Merles, they're great dudes. They're a great guy. They got a good thing going. Yandel, I love Yandel. Yandel is a guy I played prep hockey against, and I was like, there were a couple guys in that league. It was like him and Jonathan Quick, where I'm like, oh, that's what an NHL player looks like. Like, I am not that. So it is kind of weird to, like, I did their the live show, and it's just like you're meeting Gretzky, and I've gotten to know Roenick and Chelios a little bit, but like the people in their circle is awesome. I'd love to do more stuff with them. It's just hard to, they got such a good thing going. So I think once the Hawks get rolling again, I'll probably do more stuff with them.
Yeah.
And I do Game Notes on occasion, but yeah, I would say I'm glad I have the show with Boyle as like an outlet, because that's the only place where I feel like I get to have a good hockey discussion with any sort of regularity.
Yeah.
And, like, I love Dave and I love Eddie, Big Cat, but with the stretch, it's like it's like talking into a vacuum sometimes, because they just don't, they just didn't grow up with the sport. Like, they watch it when the team is good, kind of thing. But and Big Cat has season tickets, and like he loves all sports, but he's not going to have takes about the Blackhawks the way that he would about the Bears and the Cubs and the Bulls. Thankfully, because that's how I got my job here. So it's like it worked out for me to have this job that he wasn't like a big hockey guy, but I do wish that there was like another guy on our panel where we could like have discussions.
Really get the puck. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, or just so I can, like have like we can have the type of discourse about the Hawks the way we do about the Bears and the Cubs.
Well, if you ever need somebody fighting in your corner, just feel free to call one of us up from the minors, and we'll stick it for you. So you probably don't know this. You have a lot going on.
Oh boy. No.
But so I figured we'd do this. So I am normally not on the show. I run the company here, but our other host, Lee Grossman, he's out today. At one point earlier in the season, you and him went back and forth, or earlier this year, actually, early 2025, you and him were going at it on Twitter a little bit. You probably have zero recollection of that whatsoever.
I remember battling a lot of people.
Like
kind of right after the Winter Classic.
Yeah. So I do want to read something for you. Yeah, this was after the Winter Classic. It is the conversation is about Bedard versus Macklin Celebrini, and so our protagonist Lee tweets.
Why is he the protagonist?
Because he tweeted, "Chief, when Bedard scores again," and it's the Chandler from Friends looking out the window. And so then you replied to him and you said, "I want him to score. Here's what you dummies don't get." I said two things. One, he's not at the Crosby McDavid level, which I think is fair. Two, it's possible that another kid who went first overall will end up being better. You guys are acting like a cult.
There's a cult of Bedard. It's crazy. Why? I don't understand why it's such like this lightning rod third rail thing to be like, he's not that great. Like, he's a very good player. He might have years where he scores 90. He might have years where he gets 100. We haven't seen him come anywhere fucking close to that, in addition to having a lot of warts to his game. So I really like him. I'm glad he's on the team. Do I think he's going to lead this team to a Stanley Cup? Absolutely fucking not. I think he will be a complementary piece on a team that will make the playoffs. But he's not going to be like... He's not that fast. He's not that big. He turns the puck over. He can't win a draw. He doesn't have a natural position. He holds on to the puck too long. He doesn't put it like there are lots of things about his game that need to be cleaned up, and nobody wants to talk about that. And I do think that the original thing was, I said, I think long term the Blackhawks would be better off if they had lost the Bedard lottery and won the Celebrini lottery, because then your centers for the future would be Fantilli and Celebrini, and that to me, those guys are both
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, Fantilli, that team's not exactly loaded with superstars outside of Werenski, and they were in the playoff hunt until the last week of the year. He damn near scored 30. If you look at his numbers after January 1st, he was one of the better players in the league. He's like, in any other year, like in this year, he would be the first overall pick. Yeah. Like he is a superstar level talent, and he's 6'3" and 200 pounds. And if you look at the teams that win in the playoffs, they're loaded with guys down the middle who are 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", and 300 pounds. Name me a team who's won the Stanley Cup with their best player is 5'9" and 180. You can't. So it just like, that's really what the discussion is. Bedard is phenomenally talented. I think he will be an all-star for a decade. I prefer to build a team down the middle with guys who can play a two-way game, who can win playoff battles. And I have a hard time envisioning Bedard dragging a team to the Stanley Cup the way we saw, like a Sasha Barkov and, players like that. He's just not built that way.
So I don't think Betsy's a center, but like if we were to move him to the wing, you think he could kind of flourish in that Patrick Kane role and be that type of player in that type of situation?
Yeah. I think he could be like, and Kane got one MVP, and maybe Bedard can have a year like that too. But yeah, I think he's more of a perimeter guy And again, like I love the way that I see some Kucherov stuff with him where it's like, and I hope Blashill can kind of use that, but the way that Kucherov uses his body, even from a standstill position, to manipulate the D and create those little lanes, like Bedard's got that great release, but I do think that he needs more, more in his locker, where you see that kind of curl drag release goes right into the defenseman's shins many, many times, because they know it's coming. Because once he starts that, he kind of gets himself locked in. It's like, then that becomes a low percentage shot. I hope he does get a little bit more explosive, where he can curl and drag and beat the guy wide, or just use that as like not a decoy is the wrong word, but like a setup move. And it's like you just keep defensemen and defenders off balance, because the release is like, it's a nasty release, but it's like he needs more in his toolkit to get from, where is he now? What do you have finished with this year? 70?
67 and 82. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he wants to get up to 90, 100 points, then he has to be a better player. And this whole thing about how it's everyone else's fault. It's Ryan Donato's fault. Well, he fucking scored 30. And it's Teravainen's fault, and it's Bertuzzi's fault, and it's everybody's fault except for 98. That to me is just, I don't understand it. Two things can be true at the same time, where he can be a fantastic player and like his talent is obvious, but are there warts to his game? Yes. Does he have some physical limitations that are never going to change? Yes.
So can you do me a favor and call Justin a cult leader?
Oh, I'm 1,000%. I'm the leader of the cult. I will fully admit that. But you have some fair points. You have fair points. I'll be respectful and agree to disagree. But you do have some points.
You don't have to be respectful. We can have a discussion about it. I'm happy to argue with it.
Well, to be fair, I don't know if you've seen Letterkenny. To be fair, I do think the team getting better around him and having consistent line mates who are closer to his level will help out his game a lot. I agree with you. There's definitely some bad habits he has to get out of that I hope Lash will help with. The long shifts and the turning on pucks and not the stop and start and things like that. He needs to be able to create more time and space. He needs to find extra jump in his game. I totally agree with that. Like, there are definitely areas he needs to get better, but I also don't get this notion that Macklin Celebrini. Now, this is just one example, but it's like you look at Celebrini and Bedard's production rookie year, pretty similar. Now, and I don't really see Celebrini as this fantastic two-way player that everybody seems to make him out to be. Maybe he's slightly better than Bedsy from that standpoint, but I don't know.
I think he's significantly better than Bedard on that side of the puck.
Yeah, I think. But
I think his habits are better. And okay. You can look at his there's not a ton of data to back that up. Obviously, but the Hawks and Sharks are bad. So it's going to be rare to have anybody have outstanding underlying data on teams that are bad. But it's just like you said, some of the long shifts, the turns, putting the puck in the wrong area. I think that. And I look at Celebrini's bigger and faster. That's part of the equation here. Yeah. I will say this. He is a much better playmaker than I thought he was going to be coming out of.
He's more of a playmaker than a sniper. People don't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So I do think the way he's able to set players up, I think he's very good at that. I was anticipating him coming in and being a guy where maybe not he's not physically this way, but from a production standpoint, like a Stamkos, where Stamkos came in and he had the year where he had 70, he had multiple 40 goal years, and I thought that would be more what Bedard was going to be, because the release was so insane, and his edges are great too. He moves laterally very well. That's why I kind of made that Kucherov comp, because Kucherov has great edges, and he doesn't have to do much to create shooting lanes and create passing lanes, as he just is able to use his brain and his edges to kind of create space. And Bedard can do a lot of those things.
Kane was a lot like that too. Slows the game down. Yeah, deceptive.
Yeah, Kane. I do think Kane had this is the thing that I always appreciated about Kane. I thought that he got better every year.
Yep.
He always came back, and it's all right, he's got a clapper now. Okay, his backhand is filthy now. He's a little bit faster. He's every single year he became a better player. And then you saw it when he got sober, and well, it's true.
Yeah.
They put Panarin on his line, and it's this guy is the best player in the league. And and then he was never afraid of the moment either. Like we were again, we had Alec Martinez on our show. We were talking about those great series that the Blackhawks had with the Kings. And then you just, so we talk about the Taves to Kane in 13, where, Kaner has the overtime series winner. And it's just like he had so many moments, like had so many moments like
Especially
that.
the playoffs. Yeah.
Playoffs, the Anaheim series, the Flyer series, he killed the Minnesota Wild. Like he single-handedly destroyed that
There's a series he
franchise.
scored more goals than the entire team did of the Wild.
Oh, it was just like
Yeah.
he made it look so easy. And like, but he just picked the puck up. Like there was that one, I think it was in 13, where like it was rimming around, it pops out front, just forehand, backhand,
yeah.
top bar.
Yeah.
And it's just like this guy, and like he was never shy from the moment. And I remember being there in 2009. They played Calgary in the first round, and Calgary was like trying to intimidate him, like between whistles, getting in his face. He fucking killed them. And then the same thing with Vancouver, Kessler and all, Cook and all those guys, Burroughs. He fucking killed them. Like Willie Mitchell. All those guys were like big bad guys who were just like, oh, he's a power play merchant. He fucking killed those guys. And I don't, and he had that swagger about him. I don't necessarily see that with 98. Like that, it's like it's an intangible.
I see it out of Nazar a little bit. Yeah.
Nazar seems like he's got a little
He's got
bit
that
of
aura.
Yeah, like he's got a
Yeah.
little bit of that. And
Yeah.
it's just so it's almost like I really like Bedard. I think he's a good kid. I think he's a fantastic player. I almost want to I feel like we all need to level set our expectations,
That's
because we
fair.
were sold something that is just like he's not gonna be Crosby, McDavid, and like there will be players better than him. His own cousin might end up being better.
I think that's
better
okay.
than
Like
him.
it could be
Yeah.
a Kane or a
Totally.
Matthews.
Yeah, like,
that's fine. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if they they got to be smart about the contract they
Yeah.
give him, and don't put the C on his chest. Like that's just not that's not him. So
Don't
let
put the
him
C, don't put the C on his chest.
don't put the C on.
You
his
want
chest.
who do you want? Vlasic, Nazar? Who do you thinking?
I don't know yet. I
Yeah.
don't know yet. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, I think we're a ways before we
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
be making a decision like that. But it's like if you put it on his, you can't take it away. So,
Yeah.
but it's like you can, and look, you don't need a letter on your chest to be a leader.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Brent
People overrate
Seabrook
that
was-
stuff. Yeah.
Seabrook was the daddy of those teams. Okay, he didn't get one until Sharpie left, and then Hossa did everything right, and Kaner, he never had one until the very end. So it's like it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but it is. It's like a marketing thing, but it's also like you are the tone setter for the room. The Hawks just happen to have a bunch of guys who are capable of it. So I'd be careful of who they give it to, but and also just like he needs less pressure on him, which was always my argument for bringing Kaner back for his rookie year, where it's like that scene where it's just so you have 50 media people shoving a microphone in his face. Like he's 18. Like if you had another guy whose voice mattered and had like their own brand, so to speak, it would have eased his transition just like you just do hockey. And then Kaner would just get in his ass too. Because Kaner was like, he was a great teammate. He talked to Strome and DeBrincat, and like these guys love Patrick Kane. So he would have been a good teammate, but he's a snarky asshole. So he would like hold guys, he would hold people accountable. Be like, oh, you think you're a fucking superstar? Like, no. Like we're gonna do things the right way. So like I think that was a missed opportunity not bringing him back for Bedard's at least his rookie year. So and he would have come back. People were like he wanted out.
Oh,
he
no.
didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't know where that narrative comes from. Like he said, like they didn't tell him that they were going to try to trade him until like a week before the deadline. He didn't.
They kind of forced it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like he would have stayed and he would have come back if they, and he could have been the all-time leading scorer. He could have been the captain. He could, like all that stuff, and they didn't want to do it. So
no fun allowed.
You're killing Justin. Chief, is there anything else Blackhawks related or hockey related you'd like to get off your chest here? Chat is loving this. Thank you so much for just being super gracious with your time and coming on and sharing
happy
with
to
us.
do it. We had kind of a late Friday, so I'm glad it worked out.
Cool.
Hockey wise, no.
Stanley Cup prediction. I know you said Panthers you'll be cheering for, but you got in games, how many they'll do it in?
Who's got home ice?
I
Panthers.
think Oilers got this
Oilers
time.
have
Yeah.
home ice.
Oilers
this time.
have it.
Yeah.
I'll say Panthers in 6.
Okay.
All right.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you
One,
guys? Do you have any other what do you think they're going to do this summer?
well, we'll see. I think Lee seems to think they might be a little quieter and just kind of work with this youth movement we have and like maybe save money for those contracts when they're up here. Maybe a couple like B tier additions, like maybe like Ehlers or somebody like that could be good for a Nazar on the second line, and Bedzik can figure out on the top line there. I like to see one thing I would like to see. Celebrating Smith always playing together. I want to see that with Bedzik and Nazar. Develop that chemistry of those two. I think that would help his game out a lot. Maybe Nazar could be the 1C, move Bedzik the wing. They did try that a few times. I like to see that consistently next year. Yeah.
See, I kind of think they're both wings.
Yeah. Oh, really think Nazar's a wing too?
I think he could be a better wing too.
Okay.
Let him fly the zone.
Yeah.
I mean, he created so many breakaways last year with his speed, and he played a mix of center and wing last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, where are they? But like, we had no real center, so it's like you put him there. Obviously, there's inherent value to him being able to play center, but if I do think maybe his best position could be on a wing. So we'll see. That's where it's like, God damn, I wish they had a way to get Misa, because then it's like, then it all kind of starts to line up.
I actually have one more proposition here.
Yeah.
We talked about trading down. Is this a shell franchise mode trade? How about we trade the 3 for the 1, give up a 25 pick, the 34 pick, I don't know, maybe like a Korchinski type prospect for 1? Would you do that? You think that'd be on the table?
That's a lot. That's almost like
Too much?
Let's move up to get Mitch Trubisky kind of move. Like that's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah.
I would try to move from 3 to 1.
They could take the hometown boy. Yeah.
They can take Hagens or whoever. I don't know if I would give up that much.
Like a B tier prospect and
But the Islanders are interesting because new GM, old core that never could really get anywhere. So they need to do a rebuild. They have basically nothing in their pipeline. So would they do it? Be like, hey, like, we need picks and we need assets. So we'll get our hometown kid. Then the Sharks would sprint up and take Misa, or I'm sorry, take Schaefer.
Yeah.
And then Hawks get Misa, they get Hagens. Like, I think there could be something there. Giving up 3 Korchinski, who was just the 7, and you said 34.
Yeah.
And the Toronto pick.
Yeah, maybe one less draft pick then, or like maybe like a Kaiser instead of Korchinski. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's a little steep, but I think I think it's worth making the phone call.
Yeah, at least.
Because Misa is the guy that
the 1C.
They need. Yeah.
The Tays.
I know you already said you're against this, but I want them to bring in Mitch Marner just for the fun of it.
Business.
We're in the podcasting business. We need stuff to talk about. We need this to be interesting. Inject some life into the conversation in the hockey scene here. Plus, I don't know. We've debated this.
That only lasts a month.
That's not true. The Hawks will win a lot more games with Mitch Marner in the regular season than without him.
I agree, but I think the buzz around getting Marner, like that buzz, the talking points, that lasts a month. Like, look at how much
we'll turn it into hate. Then we'll just turn it into hate that he's not doing it.
But look how much it's worn off with Bedard.
Yeah,
like people don't give a shit. And I think if he was getting 100 points a year, people would, but he's just not. So I think like the buzz around them when they won the lottery and then drafted him and then opening night and that whole rookie year, it was like, oh my God. Year 2, everyone's like, well, whatever. So like, I do think that I'd rather just build a winner. Like that's the elixir. That's what you got to do. There's no shortcuts. And I think Marner, it'd be fun for a month to talk about. It would be fun in the summer. Like, I got excited about Teravainen and Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
Like, all right, hey,
I thought that had more of an impact than it would, I'll admit. Yeah.
I thought that they would be picking like 7th or 8th as opposed to battling for
the same as last year.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. As Lee would say, one last question. Gun to your head. When do the Blackhawks get back in the playoffs?
So I really, really do believe in this decor. And I think, and I love Spencer Knight. So I think that I saw Merles was on something Was it with you guys? Have you guys had Merles?
No.
No.
Okay,
We almost had Merles on, but no.
Maybe in the
Okay.
future. Yeah.
But he was on some show and he was like at least 3 years. I think that's a little pessimistic because, teams are always rising and falling. So I think Minnesota's got staying power, but St. Louis has got to have to fall off. Like they're kind of like a middling team, and then see what the Jets, who knows? Colorado will probably be there. Dallas has got some big decisions to make and roster turnover coming. So I think 2 years, because I think Rinzel, Lev, Vlasic are so good that they will be able to be like a very formidable. They're going to be a hard team to play against. And like, imagine you're coming in on on an odd man rush, or you're trying to break in the zone, and you have Rinzel, who's 6'4" and can skate like anything, and he's paired with Vlasic. They can just touch. They can touch the entire ice, and they can move. So I think that if you're playing those guys 25 minutes a night, and they are what I think they are, then I think that is the path. Like, we're going to be a very good defensive team that's going to be able to move the puck up. We got speed, so we're going to be able to turn people over. And then we finally have like the right goaltending. I say not this year, maybe
26, 27.
Maybe pushing for like a wild card in 26, 27, assuming that they upgrade the roster in other spots.
Yeah, I can get down for that. Yeah.
Chief, you've been awesome. I am going to take one thing that your co-host Big Cat says on his other show, Pardon My Take, when they release guests, in that you are now contractually obligated to come on our show another time whenever we
bring that other guy on here, the guy who ducked the argument.
I swear, when Lee is on here, you two will.
Oh, you two would have been
Get
absolutely.
into it.
Yeah, that
he
was fun.
Like legitimately heartbroken that he was not here today. But
well, we'll have to run it back then.
Cool. Contractually obligated. So
contractually, I didn't sign anything, but I'd be happy to come on again.
Cool. Right. Thank you so much, Chief. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend.
Have a great one.
Same to you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
And that was Barstool Chief from The Stretch from ESPN 1000 with Pat Boyle.
Wow.
That was legitimately, now that he's gone, I can say this, so we're not like, pumping his tires too much in front of him. That was genuinely like some of the most fun 40 minutes I've had.
That might be the best guest we've had so far, honestly. There's a lot of clippable content there. We could basically just clip that whole interview, and I think it would do well. Very fun to talk with. I think I've always followed Chief, and sometimes I agree, disagree sometimes with his takes, but talking with him, and he clearly knows his stuff, and
he's very nice.
Oh yeah, very nice guy. Easy to talk to. The Betsy thing's the one thing I will see about that one, but
what do you think the clip is going to be later today?
Oh gosh, please don't let it be that.
It has to be.
No.
You know it has to.
It's going to be Chief versus Lee, 100%.
Oh yeah, Chief versus Lee. And then maybe give a little bit of my pushback there too, if you don't mind. But that's fair. I get it. You got to pump the algorithm and all that.
That was super fun though. Damn,
yeah,
that was really fun. Okay. Let's hit a break.
Yeah.
That concludes the Blackhawks hour of the show. Thank you to Barstool Chief for helping us take up most of it. Okay. NHL hour on the other side. We'll finish up conference final talk, and we will preview a rematch of the Stanley Cup final along with a couple other news and notes. Stick around here on the other side. Back from break, it's Chicago Hockey Radio. Tassos Kirkos, Justin Lynch, and Raven Gasser. One more time, let's give a big thank you to Barstool Chief for stopping by the program for basically the entirety of the first hour. We thank him very much for that and being very gracious and generous with his time. What we do not have a lot of time for, or a lot of time left in, is Mount Rushmore season. This was an interesting one. It is the Mount Rushmore of international hockey moments. I won't give away the teams just quite yet, although I'm sure based off of the pick, somebody was able to quickly identify which team was Justin's. Yeah, you're not that stealthy. I mean,
I thought it was him with that one.
Look, man, that's part of the game, honestly. If like we're making you stay shrouded and you're not able to be like, hey, this is my team, then if somebody guesses it, like, I don't know, dude, I can't do anything about that. Okay. So let's send it over. Let's send it over to the Mount Rushmore of international hockey moments, and we'll be back shortly after to debate. Hello, everybody. It's Mount Rushmore time. Please silence your cell phones and put on your seatbelts. Keep your hands.
No, it's the movie. You got to do. It's the movie one.
Huh?
It's the movie one. It's
what?
Please turn off your phones.
I was doing the roller coaster one. I think I threw in there.
Yeah, you just kind of changed it into it. Well, anyways, welcome.
Sorry,
it's the Mount Rushmore of international hockey moments.
Miracle on Ice.
Okay, that
Fuck
was
you.
Lee had 1-1. That was an easy 1-1.
What a terrible pick. Miracle on Ice.
It's debatable.
There's a big 3, and I have the 4th and 5th pick. I was just saying this.
Well,
before
I
we
know
got
this
started.
is definitely a part of the big 3 everybody's thinking of. International hockey moments. Definitely the best goal ever scored in international hockey. Give me the Connor Bedard heartbreaker against Slovakia.
Are you
That's
serious?
every
Oh
World
my
Juniors.
gosh.
Are you throwing
The
it?
heartbreaker. Yeah, that's a hell of a goal. Pulling off the cane. That's the moment I knew he was a Blackhawk. When
In
he
the
pulled
World
off that
Junior
heartbreaker.
quarterfinal?
Yeah, man, that's a elite goal.
What are we doing?
All right, you did take him for overrated players last. That is crazy.
That's so people know who I am, though.
Justin is
I mean, you might have
obviously
just thrown this, though.
No, this is
he's-
a big brain move.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is a
Do you
big
know
brain
what
move.
ChatGPT is here? You guys might be done.
Dude, I know you might get back.
You
to
guys
back.
might be
Please,
done.
ChatGPT.
Don't
take a
do
good
it.
One.
Don't give me. Oh.
I'm gonna take Sid's OT golden goal.
Good. Thank you.
all right,
Thank
all right.
I
you.
kept picking a Canada
That
thing,
was
man.
the right pick. That was
What
the
the
right
fuck
pick.
is a Canada?
What is in Ohio, Justin?
Yeah, well, I'm no longer in Ohio, so I couldn't tell you.
I know it's so nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Nice to be back in Chirac. Yeah, thank you. Good to be back. Who's
Man,
next?
there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. This is also difficult for me. I'm actually going to pick 2 of the more recent ones on here.
4 Nations.
Yeah, actually. I'm going to pick the 4 Nations face-off because that was the first big international hockey moment we've had in over a decade. And I, like,
Just the 4 Nations face off, like overarching.
yeah, like the whole 4 Nations. Just the, yeah.
You get the whole thing.
I get the whole thing.
What?
Yeah.
I thought like one of the David winner,
I get
or
the whole thing.
yeah, the 3 fights in 9 seconds, or
Yeah.
like the, I don't know.
The whole thing.
That seems like that's not how this should work.
What do you mean?
It's moments.
Single games.
They're
Is
moments.
it not moments? Is it?
Was the whole event not a
I'll
moment?
take the entire
All right,
2010 Olympics.
And up next is Lee Grosserman. I'm going to go with every international moment spanning from 1952
But that's
to
not what I did. I
present
picked
day.
one event.
Thank you. We'll have this one back to the show.
Oh my god, I picked one thing. Fine. Is that not? Or what?
Yes.
am I being-
No.
what?
You have to pick. You can only pick one of those games.
That seems.
I didn't pick the entire 80s Olympics.
Yeah, I guess.
I think.
got-
I think you're definitely overruled here.
think-
All
Yeah,
in favor
no,
of him not getting the entire 4 Nations.
no,
That's
that's
crazy.
unfair.
That's
Thank you.
crazy.
Yeah, no.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna reevaluate here. I do have 2 picks, so I guess with the first one, I'm gonna go Jordan Eberle scoring the tying goal against Russia. Can you believe it?
Connor Bedard was a crazy pick, but Jordan
yeah, it's the
Eberle
same
was.
thing. It's the same thing.
That was the semifinals. That was the.
I think Betsy was
all
the
right.
semifinals too.
No, it was the
It's a
quarterfinals.
quarter. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I actually think the Connor Bedard pick is
Look,
better
I
than
mean,
that
like,
one.
there's.
No, it's perfect.
go back now.
Yeah. You said it.
That was a good goal. It was a good goal.
I'll actually.
I'm gonna go with TJ Oshie shootout performance
okay.
too.
That's a good one. That's a good one, man. I can't slander that one. Yeah.
All right, Raven and Tim, back to you.
I think we are going to do the Canada USSR 1972 Summit Series.
That's exactly what my next pick was going to be. Well done. Can't even fault them for that pick.
So you could do a whole series, but you can't do the. No,
Okay.
Hold on.
Speak your mind.
Hold on.
Speak your mind.
Hold
Speak your
on.
mind.
No.
Speak your mind.
Whoa,
This
whoa,
is
whoa, whoa.
ridiculous. I agree. Say what you're gonna say.
That's
Game 8
ridiculous.
Then game 8.
That's ridiculous.
Game 8.
Okay.
We'll,
All right. There you go. Because that's
Game 8
fair.
is going on the graphic. Game 8 is going like I'm putting that on the graphic. Game 8. We don't
Okay.
get the whole Summit Series then.
But the night we get the.
I
72.
agree. You should get the whole Summit Series.
No. I don't think we should get the entire series,
I
but I
think
think
you
we should
should.
get the game.
Okay.
The moment.
Fair enough.
Because is the Blackhawks winning the cup? Is that the entire thing? The
No,
moment,
it's like the
or is
moment
it
they
the
win
so
the
moment
cup.
they do it?
but is it like? But are you
Like the
doing
Miracle on
like
Ice is
the
like the whole
moment that
run.
like?
It's like when they win it.
So you're doing the moment that like Paul Henderson scores the goal.
Yes.
You know,
The
like but
famous-
that's
the
different.
the
you know what I
known
mean?
moment.
Like that's you have to. That's not what go. You know is you know. Does anybody get what I'm saying here?
I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying.
There's a
It
moment,
does seem
and
a
then
little.
there's a game, and then there's a series, there's a
Yeah.
tournament.
So
We should
we're
be consistent
then-
here.
well,
We got to be
then-
consistent.
well-
Can I make this clear for everyone?
Yes.
It can either be moment or game. It can't be a whole series. I think that's really simple. It can't be a whole series or a whole tournament. It can be a game or a moment. However specific you want to get it, but it cannot be more broad than a game.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So what do you guys want on the graphic? Do you want Game 8, 1972 Summit Series, or do you want Paul Henderson has scored for Canada or whatever?
Henderson has scored for Canada.
Yeah, okay.
Is that me next?
I don't know if you want to go next based on the hostility in this room right now.
I'll take USA defeating Canada for the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. That's the last time the U.S. have won anything in men's competition. So, yeah, 29 years ago. I remember it fondly. I was swimming around somewhere. Might have to add that part out. I don't know.
I'm not editing anything.
All right, it's to Lee with 2.
Okay.
Got a lot of time here.
Just typing away.
No. So first one, I'm going with Four Nations. The game at the Bell Center with the fights. I want picture of Matthew Tkachuk dropping him with Brandon Hagel. All right.
What about the Chuck brothers dapping it up in the box?
Oh, actually, maybe I want that.
Oh, I
being
should have
picture.
told you that. Sorry.
Either way, I don't care. That's it. The Four Nations, Canada, USA. I'm deciding if I want the other moment from that tournament to balance out for some of my Canadian
Oh,
or what about US yeah, screw it. I don't care. Give me the McDavid overtime winner at third.
well, you really fucked Tassos here.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous, dude. I'm fuming actually right now, but
Donate the player at the game, right?
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I mean, I think what you should have done in
I should have. I feel like I should have the pick, but you know, whatever.
no. The whole Four Nations.
No, you
is crazy.
shouldn't.
No. I think if
you shouldn't. Here's why.
I think if you went, I think in your spot you should have taken TJOC's shootout and then the Four Nations fights.
Okay. Well, I
And
picked
I
the
think
Four
you,
Nations.
I think you
picked
could have
the Four
beaten me,
Nations.
but now I'm gonna run away with this one. So.
I think the Four Nations was like, you
elite.
know, a one. You know what I mean? I think it's weak sauce, even splitting it into two sort of.
Oh, I don't.
You know, I don't know. I think it might have been meant to be a pick, you know, which is why I tried to do it. But, you know, whatever.
We'll see what chat. Let us know what you think. Should Tassos have gotten the whole?
Lee needs every inch to get out of.
Should Tassos have gotten
last
the
place
entire
right now.
Four
Missing an
Nations?
inch,
Should Tassos have gotten the entire Four Nations tournament?
Lee needs every inch to claw out of last place.
Lee's used to needing
Let's
every
pile on Lee here because every single one of us agreed that is you shouldn't get the entire.
All right, we'll bury you in some of these other ones.
All right, we'll see.
Dawson, what do you got?
golden goal from the 2025 World Juniors. Let's go. Recency bias. But that was an elite moment. Yes, sir, baby. Teddy Stiga, the only goal he scored in the tournament. I wish the U.S. could win men's games and not just junior games, but that's the way she rolls.
With our next pick, we will be taking the USA women winning gold in 2018 for the Olympics.
It's a good pick at this point in the draft.
The U.S. women are winning more than the men. Yeah, elite. Well done.
Okay. I'm going to do Mika Zibanejad's golden goal at the World Juniors. And I'm going to do Canada not having Wayne Gretzky shoot in the shootout at the first Olympics that featured NHLers and Czechia beating Canada with Dominik Hasek in net. So I will figure out how to put that on the graphic, considering I will be the one
It's a little
constructing the graphic. But, you know,
Was that 98?
yes.
Bet.
Who's next?
And it's those guys.
Oh,
I think we're gonna do Canada USSR 1987 Canada Cup final.
What year?
1987.
Oh.
the year,
Game 3, if we
the
want
year Sid the
specific
Kid was
moments.
born. Yeah. Simply lovely. I will go. I think I'm next, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will go with the Jonathan Toews shootout.
Damn it!
In the 07
That's what I was
World
gonna-
Juniors, I was facing off against Patty Kane and came out on top. Captain Clutch. Yes, sir. Taser, underrated for Canada in the international competition. You know, Crosby always gets all the credit, but Taser is always really good in those tournaments. Yeah.
All right, Lee.
Has the 2002 U.S. Canada game been taken?
No.
Okay. I'll do that one.
Herb Brooks returned for that one. Yeah. Surprising they picked the 1960 U.S. win. Yeah.
I need some Canada love.
Yeah.
Actually, I got McDavid, but I was gonna take Taze. until you
Yeah.
robbed me of that.
I'm glad I got something you didn't wanted. I figured you were thinking of that one. But yeah, Miracle, you already won this one.
All right, and that was the draft. Let's send this right back over to CHR. Enjoy the rest of the show, everybody. And I hope you do enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome back. I am the big fat loser of that one, even though I am definitely the most well-versed in IIHF hockey. So a disappointing loss and performance for myself, but, you know, obviously whoever had Miracle on Ice was going to win. And
battle for second. Yeah.
Yeah, so it
I think I
was a battle.
finished third, so I didn't finish last. So we finished 3 and 4. So not a good Mount Rushmore for us there,
That
unfortunately.
was a big second place win for Raven and Tim.
All we need is to consistently get second and third. And
That was
I'm comfortably happy where I am.
Yeah, that was a controversial one there. Definitely.
Yeah, we got
you feel a little
heated there.
salty about that one.
No, I think it's a little dumb that I didn't get to pick because for me, what I was sort of calling attention to in that moment by picking the Four Nations face-off was sort of the moment of the event, which I understand that like it was the Mount Rushmore of moments, but the whole moment of the event was, we haven't had international hockey in so long.
Yeah.
Look how awesome this is.
I know what you mean.
Everybody's talking about it. You have non-hockey fans talking about it. I felt like, I read in the chat, like, oh, breaking, saying it as a whole takes away from, because some of the games weren't as good. And those two moments that Lee picked were really pivotal moments. But
yeah.
I feel like picking those moments almost takes away from the whole thing, because everything sort of contributed to what was an outstanding product at the Four Nations face-off.
I get the logic.
So I, whatever. I'm a little salty about it, but that was my logic. That was my logic there. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where to start? We do have a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
We could start last night, or we could start the night before, which is probably where I think we should.
Maybe get a couple of news bits out of the way first.
Oh, do you want to do news and notes first?
Yeah, we don't need to talk too much about this, but the Rockford Ice Hogs did confirm their next head coach, Jared Nightingale, who's been around the organization the last few years, I believe, in an assistant role. Since 2021 to 2024, he also played for the Ice Hogs as well. Obviously, Mark Eden this past season was serving in that interim role when Sorensen was brought up as interim Hawks coach. So, Hogs got their next interim coach there, or I guess their actual coach, I should say. And we'll see if he has a future being the interim as the Blackhawks coach, because that seems to be the trend these days. Derek King, or Jeremy Calton, Hogs coach, then he was Hawks coach, then it was Derek King, then he was made interim, and then Sorensen was made interim. So we'll see if Jeff Blashill could be the guy, or maybe he'll be stepping in a few years. That's mostly a joke, but the way that the trend has been the last little while, I couldn't help but find that amusing. But yeah, hopefully he works well with that Hogs group. It should be another young roster full of prospects next year. So should be a good season for them. Good year for them this past year in that playoff run. So important spot for developing these young players. Yeah.
Looking at Jared Nightingale's elite prospects, spent some time as an assistant coach and associate coach with the USNTDP and in the OHL with the Saginaw Spirit and the Flint Firebirds. Spent this season as the head coach and the director of hockey operations for the South Carolina Stingray of the East Coast Hockey League. Other news and notes, I joked about it earlier on the show, but the Seattle Kraken did actually hire Lane Lambert as the franchise's next head coach. 60-year-old Saskatchewan native gets his second go-round, his second opportunity as the bench boss of a National Hockey League club. Obviously, we remember he was the Islanders head coach before being let go and replaced by Patrick Waugh. I did want to save this for the end, but while we're doing news and notes now, we can spend a couple of minutes on the Seattle discussion. Look, Ron Francis doesn't have the best track record of success. Like the Carolina Hurricanes, you can say what you want about the Hurricanes, where they are and their inability to get to that next level. Mm-hmm. They've built themselves into a team that they very much were not.
They're there every year.
When Ron Francis was there, they were not.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he gets another opportunity in Seattle to do what most GMs in the NHL would kill for, which is build a team from scratch.
Yeah.
You have no previous mistakes from the old GM. You have no bad contracts. You have no prospects.
It's like
1,000%
your team.
Your team.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is Ron Francis's team, the Seattle Kraken group. Mm-hmm. You let go of Dan Bilesma after one season. By all accounts, like
I don't think that was on him, and he's a pretty solid coach there.
I've heard that the fit there was a little odd.
We think Lane Lambert's an upgrade?
No, I don't at all, actually.
I feel like that's actually the perfect coach for the Seattle Kraken, like just a boring coach for a boring organization.
But then, like, what are your designs here? Like, what are you hoping for? Like, are you gunning for Gavin McKenna next year?
They should be. If they're smart, they should be, because I don't think this Kraken team, as it is right now, is going to be contending for the playoffs for a bit. Yeah, they're kind of stuck in no man's land mid, right?
Yeah. It just... They are much closer to being a team in the race for Gavin McKenna than the team that upset the Colorado Avalanche in the first round of the 2023 postseason.
Yeah, this is going to be their third coach already. I mean,
yeah,
they just got here.
Yeah,
yeah, it's not good for continuity and trying to build a system or identity. So, we'll see how it pans out there. But I wouldn't say it's super exciting hire, to say the least. But not a ton of good options in the market right now, as we know. Yeah, it's a dry market for coaches.
I just think, I disagree though. Like,
you think they're
I think there are way other guys that I would have looked
better
at
options than Lambert. Yeah.
Yes.
Worse options too. Yeah.
Like if I were Seattle, I would have tried to go really creative with this one You know, considering you fired Bilesma after 1 year. Like, one thing that doesn't happen in the NHL.
Get at least
like,
2. Yeah, honestly, probably 3.
Yeah, probably.
2.5 seems to be the over-under these days.
But one season, what are you expecting to be different in Seattle next year?
It's not like there's anything out of this Kraken season that was like drastically different from 23-24. It's not like they got like worse or anything. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything that warranted a fire. Yeah, I don't think Lambert's the fix.
Is Lane Lambert going to get 85 points out of Matty Beniers?
No.
And
no,
you know,
so.
like
I'm not really sure what the plan is there.
You know, you bring in Botterill to be the GM because not only does Ron Francis get to keep his job, he in fact got promoted this summer.
That's interesting. He gets promoted. So I guess he's a scapegoat then. Bowers was a scapegoat. Happens a lot in those circles, right? We've seen it in Boston many times the last few years as well.
I just think I think it's ridiculous. You know, I think we actually did say on the show. I didn't say it. I think you guys said it on the show on Monday. But Tassos still works here. Yeah, Tassos makes sure everybody else still works here too. So the Bruins have not officially hired Marco Sturm to be their next head coach. So they are still apparently interviewing Mitch Love one more time, and they're having another conversation with Marco Sturm today. So that hasn't been made official. The Seattle thing just like it bothers me.
But that's a better option, Marco Sturm. That probably been a good option for like Seattle.
Yeah. Marco Sturm is that fits into the box of those fresh faces that we're calling for
new blood.
in coaching.
Like Lambert's not really a new blood. That's more of the same coaching carousel, right?
And he was a Barry Trotz guy for so long. Yeah. You know, he was on his staff. Like this guy's been around in the NHL. Yeah. And look, I do think that coaches oftentimes have better luck the second go around.
Hopefully with Blashill, that's the case.
Hopefully with Blashill, that's the case. You know, in a lot of cases, in a lot of situations, that is the case. Yeah. So
not always.
You know, what can we get out of here with the Kraken? I think is going to be an interesting question. You know,
that's really a team I look at next year where it's like, I really don't know what to expect out of them. Definitely a lot of question marks around that team. We'll see if they do this offseason.
Yeah. What other news and notes do we have here? I think that might have been
Sabres hired Jarmo Kekalainen, the old Blue Jackets general manager, as a special advisor to GM Kevin Adams.
So I do have a thought on that, actually. You know, Jarmo Kekalainen was almost a victim of his own success in Columbus, I feel like. Another franchise like the Hurricanes.
I thought he was all right.
I thought he did a great job.
Yeah,
I thought Jarmo Kekalainen took swings when he wanted to, you know, bringing in Matt Duchene at the deadline that one year that they swept Tampa Bay. And keep in mind, after that run, Duchene leaves. Panarin leaves. Bobrovsky leaves. Pretty much everybody leaves. And the worst part is there is nothing you can do about it. You know? So Pierre-Luc Dubois says he wants to leave. And then you make what should be a great trade, bringing in Patrick Laine, number 2 overall pick, potential 50-goal guy. You know what I mean? Like, and you're the only Finnish GM, and he's a Finnish superstar. And, you know, like, it just never...
It's never mixed and matched.
It never mixed and matched, but it was, like I said, he was a burden of his own... The expectations that he created. Like, nobody had expectations for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And then they did when they swept the Lightning.
And then they did. Yeah. When Jarmo Kekalainen did his thing. Yeah. And then everybody was like, oh, wait, nobody's staying here. Nobody wants to stay here.
It's still the Blue Jackets.
How are we supposed to maintain competitiveness?
How do you develop that culture? How do you change that kind of... There's always been that stigma around Columbus, right? How do you change that?
Yeah. And I understand he's made some moves that probably weren't the best too. Yeah. But I just think that Buffalo is such a disaster. That bringing in somebody who knows how to create success in a market where it's very difficult.
Situations. Yes. Where players don't want to come there.
I think Kevin Adams, if he is to remain the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, is going to need all the help he can get.
Yeah, honestly, it surprised me that he is still the GM of the Buffalo Sabres. To be honest with you, he's definitely had some runway there. But GMs definitely get a longer.
Go somewhere with palm trees.
Yeah. GMs definitely seem to get a longer runway than the coaches, which I guess isn't that shocking. But yeah, we'll see in Buffalo. You know, if this could be the move, right, that kind of gets them over the hump here. We shall see. Definitely an interesting one for sure. Yeah, I think one more bit of a news. We alluded to it in our talk with Chief. That was fantastic. But I mean, we kind of already knew this, but it's been 100% 100% confirmed that Jonathan Toews is committed to return to the NHL next season. So, no, it won't be for the Blackhawks, but excited for that. I think the 3 teams I alluded to in the live yesterday, look out for. This is just me, so take my word for it. But Red Wings, Avs, and I think the Jets were the other ones. So we'll see. Good for Toews. It'll be nice to see him back. A bittersweet for sure, not to see him in a Hawks uni, but hope for the best. I think he could still be effective in a 3-seat role in a contender. So will be fun to watch. See what he can do. Yeah.
Yes, it will. Last quick bit of news and notes here. Kyle Palmieri inks a 2-year contract extension with the New York Islanders today. No financial terms. He had 48 points in 82 games this season for the Islanders. He's actually a Long Island native. I did not know that. He could have been a UFA 7-1 July 1st. And the New York Islanders also signed defenseman Adam Boquist to a 1-year contract.
That's a pull.
Listen to this. 8 points in 17 games for the Islanders after he was claimed off waivers on January 31st.
I've never questioned the offensive ability with Adam Boquist. He could produce. It's just the defensive part of the game as a defenseman that he's had some issues with.
He has 99 points in 244
games. He can produce. He can't stay healthy and he can't defend, but he can produce.
That is about 50 more points than I thought he would have had in
his
career.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe, what is this, team number 4 for Adam Boquist? So hopefully he can find a home there for sure. He definitely has a talent. It's just I'm just not really sure if his game is built for the NHL, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but we'll see. Props to him. Good luck. Yeah.
Islanders are going to be an interesting team this summer.
Yeah, especially what they do with that number 1 overall pick. I mean, it is a debate, man. I mean, it really is. I mean, is it me says it's Schaefer or is it James Hagan? So do they make a trade? I think expectations have sort of been ramped up a little bit for this Islanders squad. Obviously now off of Lou Lamoriello, it's in a new era here. So finally some excitement, it feels like, around that Islanders team. That's definitely been lacking in excitement the last few years. So definitely a team to watch for sure. And my recommendation is James Hagan to the 1st overall pick. If you're the New York Islanders, I think that would probably be the best pick for them to make. Would you agree, Tassos?
I think they might just go with him anyways.
Yeah, number 1, not even a trade, just take him at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll look out for some mock drafts later.
Yeah. Maybe I'll post those today. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I was trying to find something else that I had too. The only other bit of news. Oh, you know who would have posted it is Prime. So Prime on Canada. Face Off inside the NHL season 2.
I enjoyed that first season. Yeah.
Here are the players for season 2. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Have you seen this or no?
No, I haven't seen it. Actually, I have no idea. I have no idea.
This is the list for Face Off inside the NHL season 2. Sidney Crosby,
not surprised.
Marc-Andre Fleury, awesome. Anze Kopitar, awesome. Mikko Rantanen, spicy. Matthew Tkachuk, Brandon Shanahan, William Nylander. They did Tkachuk and Nylander last year.
Did they just? Yeah, they just did the Nylander and Tkachuk too. Yeah, we get some new guys here.
Here are the other guys: Thomas Harley, Quentin Byfield, Wyatt Johnston, Seth Jarvis, Sean Monahan, Brady Tkachuk, and Zach Werenski. Actually, that's a pretty
good list. I don't think you could really go wrong with that. Definitely. I can't wait for the Mikko Rantanen special. There's gonna be a lot of drama on those ones. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the first season just to get more of an in-depth look in these guys' lives about hockey and also outside of hockey as well. Get to know more as a person too, which I think is something that they could expand on. So help market these guys, but should be fascinating. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay, and that was the news and notes. Let's
get to the conference finals here. Let's clean them up.
The hockey. Yeah. Exactly. Do you have any cleanup from the conference finals? Obviously, both series end in 5 games. And
that's right.
We could start with Wednesday. Canes go up 2-0. Cats claw all the way back, pun intended. Easily the best game of that series, ends up being the last one.
Yep. They saved the best for last.
Yeah. What do you think, man?
My main point from that game is just like, that was such a great hockey game where it's like, where was that? Where was that game all series? Like, everybody's making jokes, especially in hockey Twitter, about how boring that series was. We had live streams of people sleeping through it. And yet that game felt like a Game 7 type of like Stanley Cup game. It was phenomenal. Great hockey, and the Canes were very close to forcing a Game 6. At home, they were playing really well. But as we know, that Cats team comes in bunches. They hunt in bunches. And they scored 3 unanswered in the second to kind of take the game back, and I didn't look back from there in the third. Seth Jarvis did get an answer at one point. They respond right away. Very decisive win for the Cats there. And back in the Stanley Cup for the 3rd year in a row. 6 straight years a Florida team will be in the Stanley Cup finals. Obviously, the Lightning did 3 straight years from 20 to 22, and now the Cats from 23 to 25. So they'll look to pull off off the reverse there, right? The Lightning won 2 straight, then lost the final. Panthers lost the final. Now they look to win 2 straight. We'll see if they keep that pattern rolling there. But Florida's cooking, man. I think Bettman's loving what he's seeing here. Really growing the game, that southern market, right? Yeah.
Yes, I do agree. So actually, I'm going to send Raven another clip too, so we can break this down a little better. I do want to hear from Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brind'Amour in a second here, but
did you see that little standoff of him and Paul Maurice after the game?
So okay, do you want to do this? So I have the deal with that. If you'd like to open up that can of worms and have that discussion here,
like there's a little bit of a standoff after the game when they were shaking.
Okay, so do you know what that was about?
Yeah, what was that about?
So it was not a standoff. It was. Oh, dude, I need to
look like it,
let me get this whole thing. Okay. I will get the whole thing here, and we can do this whole sort of.
So there's no beef there or anything?
No
beef.
And here is where the discussion or what it was about and what it was all for. I just want to make sure I can get this clip to Raven. Okay, yes, I'm going to send this to Raven. So basically, Paul Maurice and Rod Brind'Amour shake hands by the benches, and Paul Maurice says to Rod Brind'Amour, let's leave the handshake line for the players.
Okay.
He said that the handshake line should be, and he waxes poetic about it afterward in the clip that I just sent Raven. If I gave him the right one, do you have it ready, Raven? It is the most recent one. It is the last one I sent you.
Yes, I do have it ready.
Can we listen to it?
Of course.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. No, but that is a very, very, just to give some context
classy
here.
Guy.
No, because I have some thoughts that are very actually opposite of that.
You don't think it's you think it's a stab in the back there?
I think it's snarky, and I think it's, so here's the thing. And this is a point that I heard on another show that I will make, but
I don't think they heard it.
They didn't hear the clip, Raven. So if there's a way we can fix that. But basically, he said that, he feels the handshake line should be left up to the players and all that sort. My thing about it, and I know what Paul Maurice is and who he is, and he is cut from the same cloth as,
confident guy.
The John Cooper school of, I am the smartest guy in the room. Now, here's the thing. You're allowed to say, I don't feel it's right for me to go into the handshake line. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're allowed to have that belief about yourself.
Okay.
But for you to say, I don't think other people should be doing it, do you know what I'm saying? That plays it off like you know better than everybody else in the room. Why is it that everybody, why does Rod Brind'Amour need to, listen to, you know what I mean? What do you...
Well, he is the winner, to be fair.
But you know what, though? That's your own decision. You know what I mean?
I guess.
You don't need to be like, hey, other coaches shouldn't do this because I'm not going to do it because I know best.
It's projecting. Yeah. I think if I were a player, I'd probably rather shake hands with the least amount of people as possible and just get out of there. But maybe someone would like to soak with the woman. I don't know. Maybe Brind'Amour should. He's probably sick of losing this guy all the time too, so he probably didn't appreciate that. But fair enough, I guess. I see his point, but I can understand why it might rub some people the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's so much of hey, I know so much more than you, and I'm better than you.
He's showing it in his actions and his.
I guess, but there are other coaches and there are other guys. You know what I mean?
I know
John Cooper's the same way, and John Cooper is the same way. Just so you're aware, whether they are in the Stanley Cup final or not. John Cooper acts the same way.
Always a confident guy.
32 of the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. I see your point. So I guess you're one for more humility, I guess. And
I guess just you don't need to be everybody needs to do that. You know what I mean? Just say, hey, it's not right for me. You know what I mean? I don't want to do it. And then leave everybody else to make their own decision.
It's he's acting like he's the owner of the team.
But the clip, the clip goes on where he was it didn't used to be that way. And then there must have been one coach who just wanted to get his face on TV. And so
it used to just be. I was just gonna say, like, I never remember it being all these executives and stuff. I always thought it was just like the players.
yes, but you do understand the irony in somebody saying that they just want to be on TV as Paul Maurice is spending 10 minutes waxing poetic about the handshake line.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know,
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword there.
talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah, I get your point. Okay.
So that was handshake line gate.
That was something.
No, but that was what they were talking about after the game.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it looked like okay. It's good to get that story cleared up there because it looked like there was something there.
I do want to share some thoughts on Carolina before
Sure, yeah.
we wrap up
Still
this series.
can't clear this hurdle, man.
Can we hear the Rod Brindamore clip, Raven? If we will be able to hear it, or if the audience will be able to hear it?
They should be able to hear it, and that's the first one you just sent me.
That is the second to last one.
Okay.
Rod, I'm just wondering, you've had unwavering belief in the way you guys play and the style of game. With the results being what they are over the last few years after successful first couple rounds and it ends up this way again, do you think at all it requires some level of change in terms of the way you guys play throughout an entire season and into the playoffs?
Like what? What do you recommend?
I just mean style of play. I'm not making
That's
recommendations.
how do you think they play? But they're the standard now. And I see out, in, forecheck, hard, wait for your chance, try to capitalize. I mean, it's hard hockey. If anything, we got to figure out how to get that much to our game. But that's the standard right there. And I mean, I feel like that's been our game for a long time. They've kind of picked it up the last couple of years and made it that much better. So that's what we got to get.
Take a few more for Rod, left side, second row.
Rod, you guys were really physical in the first period. It seemed to wane a little bit as the second period went on. Was that them skating?
Well, it was them getting that momentum.
Yeah.
It was a backbreaker, I think, when that they got that little run and they got another one. You could just feel it's just natural. The building, everything, kind of sucked a little bit of life out of us.
Left side, third row.
Rod, given all the turnover in the offseason and all the changes, how do you measure the disappointment of falling short with the achievement of getting to this stage?
Thank you. Everybody seems to like, it's the craziest thing that we're this far, and it's all we're hearing is negativity from everybody. And it's when I walked this summer and with the pieces that were left this organization, I was like, I don't think we're making playoffs. I was that worried about it because it was such a mass exodus of good players to free agency. And then we were able to find good players to fill in. And then I was like, I don't know if they're that good, but they hung in there. So I got nothing but pride with this group. And, yeah, we didn't love how this kind of went this series. But, again, that's the standard right there. You're not giving Florida enough credit.
I feel like that was kind of loser talk, to be honest with
So
you.
I have a couple of thoughts on this.
Okay.
I have a couple of thoughts because with Rod Brindamore and the Hurricane struggles, a lot of the discussion points to the style of play. And it was something that I had brought up that I was told by people that I know in the game when the whole Mikko Rantanen situation was unfolding. I don't know if you remember, but I was the one that was on the show being like, I don't think the style of play fits him. I don't think the style of play fits him. I don't think the style of play fits him. And then he moved on rather quickly. However, when he says that the Panthers are just doing what they do, except they're doing it, he said 1% better. It's probably more like
a little bit better than
it's
that.
a little bit more than 1%.
I think it'd be more than 5 games if it was more than 1% better.
Yeah, it was probably more like they probably do it about 10 to 15% better.
I mean, they're
But it is
8-1 against these guys.
But it is like, it is those things he's talking about, like waiting for your chance. Like it is kind of just, it's a bit more aggressive. Florida has a bit more skill in the lineup. They have a bit more depth. When you're running out guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Eric Robinson and things like that, versus guys like Lundell and Luostarinen and Marchand. Yeah. Yes, it looks different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing, too. Anybody that's talking about Rod Brindamore leaving Carolina, just so everybody is fully aware
He's safe.
That franchise will crumble without him. That franchise
I think so.
crumble. Like, Justin, mark my words, within the year that Rod Brindamore is no longer the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, that franchise will be irrelevant. Irrelevant. They are cheap. They don't put a lot of money into facilities. They don't go the extra mile to bring in players. This is like I'm telling you that they don't have prospects. Like they pick prospects like solely based off of analytics. Like I know people that are a part of things there and, you know, are on the outside of things. I'm just telling you, Rod Brind'Amour gets paid severely less than what he would on the open market in Carolina. Rod Brind'Amour, this is the day and age of coaches making $5+ million a year on a contract. I don't know what Rod Brind'Amour's salary is, but my guess is it's under 2.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It is probably 1.5 is my guess. So if you're Rod, eventually there's going to come a day where you're going to want 5 for your services.
You would think. Yeah.
Like, and that is like, I'd give Rod Brind'Amour $5 million over Peter Laviolette any day of the week, you know, or some of these other coaches.
He probably
in the
made
NHL.
pretty good money in his career, to be fair, as a player, very successful player. They won a cup
guess,
there.
but like, are you like coaching for $3.5 million under your value every year?
That'll get old.
You do that for
eventually.
10 years,
especially when you start getting this pushback here, where it's like these conference final losses are your fault and stuff. Like, I understand that
it's
probably
not
rubbing
his
the wrong
fault.
way. I mean, would they even get this far if they didn't have him? Is the question.
Like, are you telling me that Rod Brind'Amour is supposed to be able to coach a team with Jordan Martinook and Jordan Stahl playing as their best players to the Stanley Cup final?
Well, I mean, they shouldn't be their best players. They have players who are better, but they're not always consistent this time of year.
But that was, you know what I mean?
I know
Like
what you mean.
this isn't
There's
like
only so far it can go with like this lineup. It's a good lineup. It's not. Is it great? I don't know.
The owner in Carolina, Tom Dundon, is very involved in the operation, like the day-to-day operations of the team. Probably more so than any other owner in the National Hockey League. Like, I just think that there will come a time where Rod Brind'Amour says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go coach the Toronto Maple Leafs for $5 million a year, or somebody else, the Blackhawks, the Rangers, anybody who will not be like, I don't know. I just think Rod brings a ton of credibility and respect to that organization. He leads by example. He's the workout fiend. He's but like that's not
he's Luke Richardson-esque.
I've heard stories like of people that go into the Hurricanes facility and he's on the bike. You know what I mean? Before any of the other players are, and it's like, oh, that's your head coach. Like, you see some of these head coaches, they couldn't even saddle the bike.
I was making some jokes during the live stream. Is the Canes' only chance if Brind'Amour suits up himself and gets in there? So the passion they show in some of these games here. It's kind of a random point, but it's like I do wonder alternate history because it feels like they really fumbled that random situation. Alternate history if like they don't make that second deal. I think they would have gone as far.
No,
you don't think so?
I think they are so lucky now in hindsight to have gotten Logan Stankoven and the return that they did for Mikko Rantanen, actually. That I think, Stars fans were actually very upset to lose Logan Stankoven. Like, that was a player that they were really high on.
They helped develop him there, too, especially that Dallas trademark, overripe in the minors, and then when you get to the NHL, you're ready to go and make an immediate impact, and now that's exactly what he did.
So I wanted to say that about Carolina, though, that, I see a lot of the Rod Brind'Amour discourse, and I am blown away by it. Like, I just think it's so not the problem in Carolina. I look at the defense, right? You have Jacob Slavin, who is the best defensive defenseman in the world, but produces little to no offense, right? Then the rest of the defense is Sean Walker, who's below mid. Jalen Chatfield, mid. Who else did they have? Dmitry Orlov was terrible against the Panthers. Shane Gostisbehere is a very flawed player. Like, he is not, this like Norris Trophy all around. Like, he's a power play guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That defense, that's not a Stanley Cup winning defense. Like, that is not better than the Panthers defense, where you have Ekblad and Jones and Forsling, and it's just not even on the same radar. And then you compare the forward depth, and like Svechnikov wasn't good in that series either. Like, he was noticeably on the wrong side of too many bad situations
for them.
A
couple of Freddie Anderson, I don't think so. Or Kacheko, like they're all right, but it's not really. But at the same time, though, it's like when you're 1-12 in the conference finals since 19. I can understand there being a little bit of a critique around that. I mean, it feels like the system works well for a couple rounds, but then just can't clear the hurdle and get to the cup.
I think it's a depth thing. I think it's a skill thing. I think it's a being cheap thing more than it is.
I think
a
it's more of a
thing.
management than a Brind'Amour thing. Yeah, that's fair.
100%.
I think it goes both ways. But I see your point. Yeah.
I think. I'm telling you, mark my word. If this happens this summer,
Do you think it could? Do you think it could? Do you think he's safe? Or?
I think he's safe, personally, if you were to ask me. But that is
What's
only
the
because
alternative then?
Because I think the alternative is their franchise crumbling. So how do you not keep him? But that's my own personal belief, right? So how do you not keep this guy if the response is, or if the outcome is him, like leaving your franchise in disarray? Now, but that is just my take. I would be very surprised if they do it, but mark my words, if they lose Rod, that franchise will be irrelevant in 7 months.
Fair enough. So, okay. I think we should probably maybe take this to DeBoer next, because I feel like there's a similar type of conundrum there. Where it's like, I think DeBoer's a solid coach, great coach.
Great segue.
Done well for the Stars there. But I will say, though, he did make some interesting comments.
We'll talk about it.
After that game last night about Jake Ottinger. These exact wordings there.
We do have the clip.
Let's hear the clip.
Can we hear
Yeah,
it's clip one, Raven?
Yeah.
Well, anytime you pull a goalie, there's the reasoning's always to try and spark your group. So that was the number one reason. We had talked endlessly in this series about trying to play with the lead, and obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right away. And you know what? I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake. But the reality is if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 to 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game. So, it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, and partly, knowing that, status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample set.
I love how he's saying Jake Ottinger himself lost 6 or 7 games to Edmonton. But I think you guys did as a team. And if you watch both those goals, I'm not always sure how that falls on Jake Ottinger. There was no defense anywhere to be seen. Easy net front tap in slot goals. So I get the sending the message. I understand that. I understand that reasoning. But he's putting a little too much on Otter there. I don't think that was completely fair. But there's been plenty of series, especially the playoffs, where Otter's bailed them out plenty of times. So I'm not really getting that one.
So I think, from what I understand, Peter DeBoer has had a pretty interesting relationship with goalies over the years. He's often turned to goalies as a scapegoat for losses. I like Jake Ottinger a lot. I believe that the level of goaltending across the NHL has gone down substantially over the last 10 years.
To feel like consistent top guns, it feels like.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
Because, man,
He's got that clutch
it's
factor.
so hard for me. Yeah, but does he? Does he?
I mean, more than Hellebuck does.
I don't know. They have the same number of Stanley Cups.
I don't know.
They have the same number of cup final.
series.
They have the same number of cup final appearances, though, which is 0.
Yeah. I don't know. Putting this on him, I think, is crazy. That's crazy talk.
I do too.
You tell me DeSmith was the answer there? Okay.
And if we're talking about losers of conference final series and their decor looking a lot worse than it actually, or, like the Stars decor just wasn't good enough. Essa Lindell was not very good for them.
After Hasek and Harley Lindell, I mean, like you said, he wasn't good enough. But then after those 3, it falls off a bit.
Yeah, dude, you're throwing out like Labushkin and Petrovic and AHL guy after AHL guy.
Yeah.
And the forward depth, like it wasn't working. Everybody wasn't shooting it in the net. Matt Duchene struggled, and Wyatt Johnston didn't turn it on until yesterday. It felt like
Stanley Duchene didn't have like an even strength goal in these playoffs or something. Like something crazy like that. And he was so good from last year. It's like, they have all these depth pieces. They didn't show up. That was supposed to be the advantage they had against Edmonton, and we just never really saw it. Edmonton got contributions throughout the lineup too from guys like Mark and Perry, and we just didn't see that of Dallas. That was kind of the difference. Not just the top end, but getting contributions throughout the lineup, and they defended. He got out goalied by Skinner as well. I mean, you wouldn't expect that. I thought goaltending was supposed to be the one leg up. Yeah, to be fair.
No, I agree with you, and I don't know how
where you go from here.
Yeah, I don't know where you go from here. And did you see the pictures going around the internet yesterday regarding this whole Ottinger thing? There was a
the Patrick Raw comparisons.
You had Ottinger next to Ray Ferraro, and then you had Patrick Waugh next to Mario Tremblay.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
the 2 side by sides. I heard Elliot Friedman talking on 32 Thoughts this morning. And he just said that Jake Ottinger's a very prideful guy, and that
I can't imagine he loves that. Those comments.
Can't imagine that he feels really good today about
There's a
that.
breaking point there.
I don't know.
I
Could
think
there
there'd be
be?
a lot of teams interested in his services.
I think there would be
yes.
a line out the door.
Dude, are you kidding me, man? Oh, come on. I still think he's a top 5 goalie in the NHL. I do. Yeah.
I do too. I did see a lot of is Jake Ottinger overrated talk yesterday?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think it's easy to throw the goaltender on the bus in these situations, but it's like, where was the defense? I didn't see it, man. If you watched that game yesterday, it wasn't the goaltending, it was the defense. That's kind of been the theme of this series, too. There's just been too many breakdowns. So I wish I could put that on him. I mean, look at all the times he's bailed them out, man. I'll never forget that series against, what was it, the Flames in 2022. They lost that series, but he made 60, 70 saves in that game. I kept him in it until Johnny Gaudreau sent them to the semifinals there. But he's had so many performances like that in the playoffs, and I'm just not sure how you could put that in him. Yeah.
No, look, I get it. I don't necessarily agree with the move to pull Ottinger. I thought they were going to put him in to start the second period. And then they...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
So pull him and then put him back in?
Yeah, that happens.
I guess.
That happens.
Yeah. That feels like a desperation, but it isn't.
You have to win the game.
Yeah, I know you do, but I just want to pull him in the first place.
But if you were looking to get a shake up out of the group, because that is the other reason you pulled the goalie, right? You pulled the goalie for two reasons. One is you don't think he's good enough tonight, and the other reason is to give the rest of the team an injection of life, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that really worked too. I think the Oilers scored again right after that.
Yeah, and then Dallas did get one back.
I'm not saying Dallas wins the game to keep him in. I think it was just inevitable. This Oilers team was just similar to the other series. I think it was they're just a better team, plain and simple. Yeah, which I do expect this to be the closer of the two series, and honestly, it wasn't. They're kind of both eerily similar, to be honest with you. A lot of parallels with these series and these squads for sure. I can't wait for the Cup, man.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
can't wait. It's going to be absolute cinema. We want to preview that a little bit before we.
Yes, the only other thing I had to say, congrats to Jeff Skinner on his first career Stanley Cup
How about
playoff
that,
goal.
man? Good for him. 15 years in, better late than never. His first time in the playoffs, obviously got hurt for that first game, but then came back in this series and made an impact. So, love to see that. Both Skinners are playing well for the Oilers.
All right, we got 5 minutes. So let's do 5 minutes on the Stanley Cup final.
But we'll have more time to preview it Monday.
It will not start before we do another show.
Yeah, we'll have plenty more time, but just teeing it up a little bit.
And to tee it off, just yesterday was the first game without Zach Hyman for the Edmonton Oilers.
So far, so good. But
so far, so good. I think the Stanley Cup final, for me at least, will be missing a little something without having Zach Hyman in the lineup.
Yeah, I think for me, though, the good news is I do feel like a guy like a Perry can slide into that role nicely. He did prove it last game. But I can understand, if you're looking at things like advantages, disadvantages, that is one area that is definitely, something that we'll be missing his services to Oilers. And he hasn't been as good for him this year, but still, this time of year, he has been playing a lot better lately. So to lose a guy like that for the series is it's big. At the same time, though, I don't think, the Oilers, team runs through Zach Hyman here. As long as you have your two top guns healthy and, playing at their best, I think they have a shot against anybody. So I think Perry can fill in there and they'll do just fine. So I might really look at that. I think a lot of people may be overreacting, but it's not just though. Yes, they're losing Zach Hyman, but look who's back, man. That comes back, their best defender. So I think the impact he can have in this series too is something not to be scoffed at for sure. Yeah.
I agree. I'm thinking of it. I want both these teams at full strength.
I wish they were both at full strength.
Because he's been really good. He's been physical.
Florida's not really without anybody, are they? They're fully healthy right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say too, the extra days off, having today off, having Saturday off, having Sunday off,
good.
Will do both of these teams really good.
Yes, for sure. Because you could tell there've been some guys been playing a little bit banged up. The Reinhardts, for instance, right?
They
Those
just
guys.
got Ekholm back yesterday. You know what I mean?
That's huge. I think these teams need that rest, a few days off. It should give this Cup final a bit more spice for sure. So I think it's going to be cinematic. I hope it goes 7 games just like last year. I have a really hard time giving a prediction for this, man. My brain says Panthers, but my gut tells me Oilers. And you know what? I think you got to trust your gut. I think just everything seems to line up here. I think I'm going to go Oilers in 7. We'll get into it more in depth on Monday, but those are my initial thoughts as of today. We'll see if they change.
I'm going to go Oilers in 6.
Ooh, you think even quicker? Wow, we're both going Oilers. I assumed, I'm sure Lee's going to say Panthers when he comes in the show Monday, I'm sure, which he'd be right. It's funny. I am wearing a Panthers shirt, though, but I don't know. I've bet against this Oilers team too many times. I'm not going to bet against them again. I think they're going to take it personally and get their revenge. Yeah.
A few fun Stanley Cup final news and notes here before we send you on your way for the weekend. Reminder, no streams this weekend because there are no hockey games.
Hockey games. What are we going to do without hockey, man?
Ooh, should we stream the Memorial Cup final on Sunday?
I'm sure Lee would love to stream that game.
Well, yeah, I don't think Justin wants to.
No, I can do it if you want me to. Yeah,
We'll talk about it.
We'll see. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll see.
Exciting game in the Memorial Cup tonight, too. Moncton Wildcats against the London Knights tonight with a spot in the final against the Medicine Hat Tigers and Gavin McKenna and
Future
Caden
Blackhawk.
Lindstrom and Ryder Ritchie and all those fun players, Andrew Basha, Tanner Molendijk. So
maybe we will, yeah.
so that should be a good one. Spot in the Memorial Cup final on the line tonight. You can watch that one on Victory Plus if you are in the United States and on TSN in Canada. And so some fun Oilers-Panthers stats before we get you out of here. Florida's 8-2 on the road this playoffs. Edmonton is 6-3 on the road in the playoffs.
Well, that's one thing I want to mention because last year Florida had home ice advantage, and this year the Oilers have home ice advantage. So that's another thing I look at where it's like they've been so good at home, but I mean it doesn't really seem to matter if that Cat team they can play anywhere and look just as good, which you can't say that for every team. So there's so much to look forward to, man. There's so much to tee up. Should be a cinematic Cup final. Redemption versus repeat. Who will come out on top? Yeah, a lot of storylines.
What else do we have here? Oh, Corey Perry, we did mention him, but
Yes.
going to his 5th final in the last 6 seasons, he is 0-4 in his last 4, and his 6th final in total for Corey Perry, looking for his 2nd championship. I should mention too, Chris Knobloch, coach of the Edmonton Oilers, 6th coach in NHL history to make the finals in his first 2 seasons as head coach. A lot of old names here: Toe Blake, Tommy Ivan, Scotty Bowman, Jimmy Skinner, and Punch Imlach. So. Pretty impressive list. He is joining there. One other news and notes thing I have here. This is from Walt Ruff. Seth Jarvis played most of the season with an injured shoulder, but will not get surgery, so he doesn't miss the 2026 Olympics.
Oh, that's good. They're probably going to need him. So, man, nice breakout performance there in the 4 Nations. But that's good news. I like Seth Jarvis. Good personality there.
Yes. I'm looking forward to the Stanley Cup final.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's got a lot of juice. We should all be there for the live streams. I think we should be streaming every single game. And
we will be.
By the way, we're so close to 800 subscribers here. We're like 4 away. So it's like if we can get that by game 1, I think that'd be elite over the weekend. Help us out there, El Chato. Yeah.
I definitely think that this is the Oilers script, though. Like
It
it's the
feels like it.
McDavid,
It
the
feels like
Crosby. I've seen all the ESPN
All the
posts about it.
comps. Yeah.
This is it.
It feels like it, man. Will the Canadian drought finally conclude here? We shall see. We shall see.
All right. Thank you one more time to Barstool Chief for stopping by the show and helping us crush the first hour of this show. He came in here and did an excellent job.
He made it easy for us on this wonderful Friday.
Making our jobs very, very easy.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the Memorial Cup tonight. More Stanley Cup final coverage when we return Monday morning. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we will see you all very, very soon.